It's episode 653 of the Locked On Texas Rangers podcast. On today's show, I'm breaking down the Rangers not getting swept in Houston and taking a look at what makes for a great baseball rivalry. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host for all 4 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. It is Friday, August 12th. Your Rangers are 49-62 after splitting the final 2 games of a series in Houston. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers and subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment anything below. Sorry that I did not have an episode out for you yesterday. I was going to after work. I'm working some new hours, some earlier shifts, and so I had to adjust my sleep schedule, my working schedule, and it's been a long week. And so after I got home last night, a little earlier than normal, I just could not put together a good show. So I'll have a show for you today. I'll have a show for you tomorrow when the Rangers induct Ian Kinsler and John Blake into their Hall of Fame. I'm going to talk a little bit about Ian Kinsler, his greatness, and whatever happens in this Friday night bullpen game that's going to be started by Josh Sborz, because there's some injury news that I have to get into before we get into any of the good and fun stuff. Spencer Howard has been placed on the 15-day IL with a right shoulder impingement. John King was recalled from AAA to take his place. Now, there's also a lot of minor league injury news that's been happening over the last week. Dustin Harris, one of the Rangers' top prospects, I believe I had him number 10 in my midseason top 30. He has been placed on the 7-day IL with a wrist injury. Not exactly sure what happened out there, but meaning to get to a game this week. But Wednesday's game was rain delayed, and I was not ready to see that. Thursday game was Jack Leiter, but there was no Fernando Tatis Jr., so I'm waiting. I think I'm going to be out there on Saturday and Sunday. There is a rumor that Owen White will be back for Saturday's start, which would be very, very exciting. Cody Bradford is on the hill for the Rangers on this Friday night game, and if that's the case with Owen White, I'll definitely be out there on Saturday. And Antoine Kelly is going to be on the hill on Sunday, definitely going to get out there for that Sunday game with Antoine Kelly, see his second start as a Ranger, second start in AA. But also, Aaron Zavala, one of the breakout stars of this year, the Rangers' second-round pick last year, signed way under slot because of a very, very scary health situation. Turns out everything ended up being fine, but there was some real concerns that he would, might end up having some spinal cord damage, that he would not be able to play baseball, and might even have trouble walking. And he just did not look like himself last fall. Grant Schiller, the occasional, very often guest on this podcast, saw him in the fall and did not love what he saw. But both of us saw him in person last week, and my golly, we have loved what we have seen from him. But he injured the game, or he was left injured on Tuesday night's game early on, seen a doctor, has not played since, said it was too early to tell what exactly it is, but it's been a few days. I have not heard or seen anything about what that injury is, but I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. But I'm hoping that Owen White will be coming back on Saturday. Hopefully that injury can just be something that he just sits out for a few days, and Zavala can be back either tonight or on Saturday. But not a whole lot of great news on the injury front. But there's one little bit of good news. The Dodgers, by the way, they're undefeated in the 8 games since they traded for Joey Gallo, and the Yankees are 1-7 since trading him away. Just a fun little fact I want to sprinkle in there. Some food for thought. Anyway, let's get into this Wednesday game. It was Leody Taveras Day in a big way. A career-high 5 RBI for him, had a double, had a triple, and they came in some big moments for him. He had the first RBI came on a go-ahead 1-run triple. He had a game-tying triple, go-ahead sac fly, and then a 3-run double in the 10th inning to give the Rangers a big cushion. They scored 5 runs in the 10th inning to win 8-4 in Houston. Any win in Houston at this point is really big for the Rangers. By the way, those those extra base hits were the only ones the Rangers hit. They did not hit a whole lot of extra base have a lot of extra base hits in these final 2 games of the series. Leody had both of them in this one, but again, they were menaces on the bases. Adolis Garcia had his 16th stolen base of the season off of Verlander and Maldonado, and Ezekiel Duran had his 4th stolen base of the season off of Ryan Stanek and Martine Maldonado. But if you would have told me going into this series that the Rangers are not going to win when they have Martine Perez on the hill versus the number 5 starter in the Astros rotation, I would have thought, yeah, okay, well, then they're definitely going to get swept. But no, Glenn Otto took the hill in this one in his home city of Houston. I was going to be wearing my home field Rice Owls shirt, but I was wearing it last night and got some ice cream on it, so I had to change my outfit plan to support Glenn Otto, who did work in this one. 5 innings of 2-run ball against this Astros squad is not something that's easy to do. He did have a little bit of a walk problem, 4 walks for him in this one, but did strike out 5, which was big. The home run was just a solo shot by Kyle Tucker. It happens. He didn't quite outduel Justin Verlander. Verlander did allow more runs than him, did go an inning more, so, do with that what you will. But he held his own. He kept the Rangers in a game where Justin Verlander was on the hill opposite him. The last time he was in Houston, he talked about having some butterflies, or it seemed like he might have had some butterflies coming home, pitching against his former hometown team, who he now rightfully hates, as he should. As a big leaguer on the team, you should probably hate your rivals. That's just a good thing to do. But Brock Burke came in and ended up with a blown save in this one, allowed a solo home run from Yordan Alvarez, which, again, will happen. The Rangers held them mostly fairly quiet in the series until, at least in that first game, Martine Perez absolutely dominated him. And outside of that homer, I don't believe, that was the only time that he even reached base. He had 3 strikeouts. Other than that, went 1 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. The one was, of course, a solo bomb. But the Rangers pen did his job after that. A shutout inning from Matt Moore, shutout inning from Taylor Hearn, who continues to look absolutely nasty in those shorter relief roles. And that is something that you really love to see. He didn't allow a single base runner and got a strikeout. And Jonathan Hernandez did give up 1 run, 1 hit in his 1 inning of work. But by that time, the Rangers had a 5-run lead that they had gotten in the top of the 10th inning. This Rangers team has struggled in these close games. They've also struggled in extra inning games. And they had a balk to start off that 10th inning. We're going to talk about why that's important, a little bit of a look at the Thursday game and Cole Ragans, a special moment from Cole Ragans that old Levi Weaver of The Athletic was able to share with us. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Blue Nile. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Blue Nile has simple online tools that let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as the setting style. Blue Nile's bench jewelers would then handcraft her perfect engagement ring. Each ring is one of a kind. If you're looking for fine jewelry and having trouble choosing, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every single budget. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And going on now is the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. Now, the Rangers balked at the very beginning of the 10th inning. They have a 5-run lead, and Alex Bregman is on second base. Now, one thing that Alex Bregman does well, other than be a pest, well, one of the ways that he actually does be a pest is stealing signs. Now, the Astros have done a lot of sign stealing, mostly of the illegitimate variety, which definitely stopped immediately after the investigation by the commissioner. There's definitely no way that they ever tried to do anything like that again. But they are very good at also doing it the legal way. And Alex Bregman, Chris Woodward said, is one of the best. Their whole team is one of the best at picking up those signs. And that's part of baseball. That's not cheating. That's just the way baseball go, as Ron Washington would say. And I think they did a pretty good job of it. That might have been why they did a good job of it against Cole Ragans. I'm not exactly sure, because I cannot tell when a pitcher is tipping pitches. It's the brilliance of Major League Baseball players and coaches and everyone on that staff who can tell if the pitcher does like one little head tick slightly differently, they can tell immediately what pitch is going to be thrown and usually take advantage of it. But even the runners on second, their eyesight is so good that they can look at what the pitcher is, how the pitcher is like gripping the ball from behind them, and give some sort of signal to the person at the plate, hey, this guy's about to throw a changeup to you, or hey, this guy's about to throw a four-seamer or a slider, or whatever. How they can do that, recognize all that, and relay that information to the batter is just one of the more impressive things about among the many impressive things that major leaguers do. But anyway, Bregman is one of the best at this, and Jonathan Hernandez, as good as he is, and he's probably throwing a two-seamer at you most of the time. So it's just disgustingly nasty. I wish I could have seen somebody try to do this against Mariano Rivera. Just like, hey, he's throwing a cutter. Be very helpful. Very helpful. But unless you're Mariano Rivera and just have one pitch, and that one pitch is one of the best pitches in baseball history, it is helpful to know what's coming. So the Rangers balked him over to third base just to keep him from being able to more easily steal signs of both steal signs and kind of signal to the batter what kind of grip Jonathan Hernandez is gripping behind his back with the baseball to the runner. He ended up giving up a run anyway, but it didn't really matter. The Rangers won in this one. A solid outing from him and a solid outing from the offense in general. A 3-hit day from Corey Seager and Adolis Garcia. Multi-hit game from Leody Taveras, like we just talked about. And decent on the base pass, and a solid outing from Glenn Otto as well. Now, let's look at this Wednesday game. It was much, much less fun. But by the way, before we get to that, there was something that happened on Tuesday that I did not realize was baseball history, but Richard Justice, who was freelancing for the Dallas Morning News, wrote about it on Wednesday, that Marcus Semien made baseball history. He made baseball history, which is a hard thing to do. But in the pitch tracking era, which is just when they started counting, like keeping track of what happened in what count, which was 1988, Marcus Semien, since then, is the first batter to lead off a game with a home run on a 3-0 pitch. Now, the Rangers have 4 such home runs on the season, which is really funny and a real big change from what happened in all the 2020 nonsense. In case you missed that, and I don't know where you were, well, congratulations on being a 2-year-old and just now paying attention to baseball, because I don't know how you missed it. But the Rangers, Chris Woodward specifically, got really mad that Fernando Tatis Jr. swung 3-0 and hit a grand slam in a game where the Rangers were already getting destroyed. He got mad. You don't swing 3-0. It's just not what you do, blah, 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 blah. And he got rightly roasted for it. And the Rangers proceeded to give up grand slams in each of the next 3 games in a 4-game series, half in Arlington, half in San Diego, and were rightly roasted by all of baseball, myself included. Just very funny stuff. He learned from it later on and said, yeah, that was stupid. 3-0 pitch is going to be the best pitch you see. He should have swung. He did swing. He hit the crap out of it. It wasn't even a bad pitch that he hit for a grand slam because he's Fernando Tatis freaking Jr. By the way, he's also in Frisco for, I believe, this whole week. I think this whole weekend. I'm going to try and go see him out there. If you can, go out and see Fernando Tatis Jr. One of the cheapest tickets you're going to find to go see a generational talent like that. And also he's going to be hitting against AA guys, which, as much credit as I give Cody Bradford, it's just not a fair contest going up against Fernando Tatis Jr. But anyway, the Rangers have learned from that. He has grown. He said, yeah, that was stupid. I was just perpetuating some old school nonsense when I shouldn't have. And I applaud him for growing on that. And the Rangers having 4 home runs on 3-0 pitches is really, really great. But there was this big feature that Levi Weaver of The Athletic wrote about Cole Ragans that was just... It was so perfectly Levi. It was very beautifully written. It was great storytelling. It was funny. It was heartfelt. It was everything you want. And that's his story. They did a really great job of telling it. Talked a lot with Cole Ragans' wife, and she had a lot to say and a lot of insight and emotion that she could pour into that. And, as great as the whole piece is, which it is great, and you should go read it and subscribe to The Athletic because Levi's great. But there's a video that was shared in there. And it's when Cole was able to tell his wife that he was finally going to the big leagues. And she was able to tell the story as well. There was initial video that came out of the entire clubhouse when Bubba and Cole were both called up on the same day. The entire AAA clubhouse celebrating with them. I haven't seen it much like that. Usually they're called in the manager's office, and then everybody busts in once they tell them the news and celebrates with them. But this was everybody in the clubhouse, and it was just a beautiful moment. But this this was something different. This was heartfelt and beautiful, and just the raw emotion of everything that they had both been through, having the basically 3 years without baseball. And we also got some clarification that the second Tommy John surgery happened in the final bullpen before he started pitching in actual games, not in the first time on the hill like I initially thought and had heard told a couple of different times. But seeing that emotion of her just hugging him, crying, both of them crying, her just wrapping him up like a teddy bear, just the beautiful, beautiful moment that reminds you, it would melt even the most cynical baseball hearts. It's why I do this. It's why I'm sure most other people do it, is for those moments. Why we all love sports is because of those moments. This kid who has worked his tail off and who was even given the option to just hang it up after the second Tommy John surgery that happened before he turned 21. Like that is a lot to come back from. And credit to the Rangers. I can't remember exactly the name of the pitching coach who gave him this option. He said, no one's going to judge you. But the way he said, I know the way that I phrased it would piss him off. He said, if you want to quit and give it up, then that's fine. He's like, I knew if I said retire, it might like ease him into it. But I said quit. I knew that'd piss him off and take him the other way. And he would work his butt off to get back through the monotony, through the tireless days that he had literally just went through for another 12 months. And it did. To his credit, it did. And he was there every step of the way. And huge credit to Cole Ragans and to his wife and to his entire support staff and the Rangers for helping him get through it. Now he is a big leaguer. He had a bad outing. We're going to look at that just very, very quickly. And then we're going to look at what makes a good baseball rivalry. But first, this episode is brought to you by Liver Health Formula. Did you know that sustainable weight loss is through your liver? The liver is the body's metabolic furnace. It's responsible for flushing out harmful toxins and igniting your fat-burning metabolism. But thanks to modern diets rich in unhealthy processed food and constant exposure to thousands of man-made environmental toxins, most of us have overworked livers. Thanks to Liver Health Formula research, it contains 8 liver-boosting nutrients like turmeric, beet, and artichoke extract, all of which work together to help wake up your sluggish liver and turn it into a toxin-flushing, fat-burning machine. No more bloaty belly, no more uncomfortable digestion, none of that nonsense, and best of all, Liver Health Formula makes it easier to maintain a healthy body weight long-term. As a listener of our show, you can try Liver Health Formula risk-free today and get a bottle of free bottle of CurbFit with your order. CurbFit is a safe, all-natural appetite suppressant, making it easy to say no to naughty foods. This makes the perfect complement to Liver Health Formula. Go to getliverhelp.com/MLB to learn more. Again, that's getliverhelp.com/MLB to try Liver Health Formula completely risk-free and claim your free bottle of CurbFit with your order. Go to getliverhelp.com/MLB now to get started. Now let's look very quickly at this Rangers game on Thursday that was on YouTube. Marcus Semien had his 17th dinger of the season off of former Ranger great Rafael Montero in that 9th inning to make it a little bit closer, but it just was a tough day for the Rangers. And for Cole Ragans specifically, he had a little bit of a walk problem. This one got hit for the dinger twice, 3 walks in 4 1/3 innings, 5 runs, all of which were earned. Only 1 strikeout for him in this one. Just a tough game against a very good opponent. Martine Maldonado, of course, was one of the ones who got a home run off of him, a 3-run shot in the bottom of the 2nd inning. I swear, all of Martine Maldonado's hits, I feel like, are home runs, and they all come against the Rangers, and it's incredibly frustrating for a guy who is one of the worst offensive players in baseball, but always managed to hit against the Rangers very, very well. Alex Bregman also had a 2-run shot against him. Not a great outing for him, but John King was able to come in and get an inning and 2/3 of work. Shutout variety, did not allow a single run for him. Leody Taveras had another multi-hit day. Marcus Semien, in addition to that homer, had a pair of walks in this one. Pretty darn good game for him offensively, but no other extra base hits outside of Marcus Semien's home run. Garrett Richards came in, allowed 2 runs in his 2 innings of work, and was able to close the door very gently, and it just was not the Rangers' day. They got their 3 runs in the 8th and 9th inning, but at that point they were already down 7-0. Just save a little pride. Didn't make it another 1-run loss and made it a slightly more respectable loss in this one. Frustrating way to end the series. Really should have nabbed that first one. This game would have hurt a whole lot less. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And, the Rangers just do not have a close rivalry with this Astros team. And for their history, they really haven't had a close rivalry. There have been 2 good years. 2 good years in the 10th season. This is the 10th season of the Astros being in the American League West. Now, here's a little bit of history of this rivalry. 1962, the Astros were the first major league team. Well, I guess at that point they were the Colt 45. It's only lasted 3 years before they were changed to the Astros. 1962, that's when they came to Texas. The first major league team in Texas is this franchise. They did not start anywhere else. They were just started here, at least according to their Baseball Reference history page. Now, the Rangers came in 10 years later after the second edition of the Washington Senators moved to Texas and became the Rangers in 1972. This is 50 years later, and it took until 2001 for these teams to play for the first time. There's no team very close to either of these stadiums. No one's anywhere close. Before the Astros moved to the American League in 2013, the closest team in the American League to the Rangers was the Royals, which is their stadium is 530 miles or an 8-hour and 7-minute drive from the old ballpark in Arlington. Their AL West rivals were nowhere close. The Rangers and Texas teams in general are always in such a weird spot. I mean, the Mavericks and Stars seem to have their division figured out pretty well, being in the Central and having teams that are all pretty close to them. The Mavs have 2 other teams in state, the only league with 3 Texas teams, at least of the 4 major ones of that variety. But I mean, the Stars don't have any other team in Texas. There's no team in Oklahoma for them. There's no team that's really that close. They still kind of get it with Nashville and some of the other ones. But the Rangers, let's look at their AL West rivals and how far they were before the Astros got here. They have the Angels, who are the closest. Yes, that's right. All the way in Anaheim, the Angels were the closest to the Rangers. It's a 20-hour and 5-minute drive from stadium to stadium, 1,403 miles, a 3-hour and 5-minute flight between cities. That is not close at all. Then look at the A's, the next closest. It's a 25-hour drive, 1,703 miles between their stadiums, a 3.5-hour, 3-hour and 35-minute flight. That is also not very close. And then you look at the Mariners, who might be one of the farthest teams from the Rangers, if not the farthest. Maybe Toronto might be a little bit farther. I think that's the only team that is farther away than the Rangers in all of Major League Baseball. And they're a divisional rival, so they have to go play them 19 times a year. And half of those times, or however you can divide 19 by 2, however many that is, 9 or 10 games on the road that far away. They're a 31-hour drive, 2,065 miles between their stadiums. That's a 4-hour and 5-minute flight. That is incredibly far away. And not only that it's far away, but there's not a whole lot of these fans anywhere near you. One of the reasons that I love college football is because of the rivalries. There are so many close rivalries. There's no team that doesn't have an in-state rival that there is at least some kind of history with them, or even if they're out of state, like in the SEC, where Auburn, which is basically in Georgia, and Georgia play every year, and there's a big rivalry there. So people in those states, and same with Texas, there's so many different Texas colleges that you know somebody. If you went to Texas Tech like me, you know somebody who's a Texas fan, you know somebody who's a Baylor fan, you know people, work with them, live with them, are friends with them, that went to these rival schools, and you can talk trash. And that's one of the greatest parts of a rivalry. That's what you need. You need those memorable, painful losses. You need players who played for both teams. You need moments where both of your teams are good, have something to lose, or one of your teams is absolute trash and ruins the season for the other one, to have those moments. The Rangers and Astros haven't really had that. One of them has been trash and one of them has been great for basically this entire time. In 2013, the Rangers were still around the peak of their powers. 2014 was obviously pretty terrible. But in 2015 and 16, those are the only seasons where this was an actual rivalry, where there was something at stake. By the way, that first game that happened, June 8th, 2001, let me just read you some of the players that were in this, because this is peak nostalgia if you were in a millennial my age, or a little bit younger, or even a little bit older, just nostalgia of remembering what this kind of lineup was. The Astros had Craig Biggio leading off. They had Jeff Bagwell, Lance Berkman in there. They also had Brad Ausmus hitting ninth and catching for that one. They had Roy Oswalt on the hill starting. The Rangers had a leadoff guy of, Rusty Greer. Pudge Rodriguez, A-Rod, Rafael Palmeiro. They also had Ruben Sierra and Frank Catalano. And also Michael Young was hitting ninth and got pinch hit for Andres Galarraga. And starting the game for the Rangers was Kenny Rogers. If that does not pique your nostalgia, then you are either very, very young or did not pay attention to baseball back then, and you missed out on some very, very mediocre Rangers teams to be nostalgic about. But just a little fun fact. Also, the Rangers lost that one in a one-run game. Shocker, something that continued to this day, or just really specifically for this season, 5-4 in 11 innings. I'm sure that was a very, very good game. I wish the Rangers would have won it so they could have that bragging right of all time. But anyway, I digress. The Rangers and Astros are close, and in 2015, that was when everyone was thinking, okay, this is the Astros year. This is when they're going to do it. It's when they did not do it. They did not do it at all. The Rangers won the American League West that year at 88-74, and the Astros were just not quite ready. They had basically the same exact core. They were 2 games behind the Rangers at 86 and 76, but they just were not quite there. And the next year, they thought, okay, this is definitely going to be a year. This is definitely going to be a year that the Astros win it all. They had pretty much the exact same group of players that they did when they won the World Series. Oh, except for one key addition in Justin Verlander. Just that old thing that they didn't have. But the Rangers went ham and went nuts in one-run games, had a 95-win season, and pretty much blew the Astros away in the divisional race. The Astros had 84 wins that year and did not make the playoffs. Granted, they would win the World Series the next year and have won the division every single year, every single full season, I should say, since that 2017 season. And the Rangers have been mediocre to mostly bad during that time. There haven't been a whole lot of memorable games. There was the Yu Darvish almost perfect game, the second game that these two played as divisional rivals, and there was the moment where Rougned Odor got into a fight with the entire Astros team, and Jeff Bannister had a loud, yelling, pointing match where the dugouts completely emptied and the bullpens came in and no punches were thrown, and it was just a lot of, the good baseball skirmish, the you better hold me back, some of those moments. There haven't been very many of those moments since then because the rivalry has not been testy. There have not been these huge moments. It was a nice moment the last time, before this series, the last time Martine Perez pitched in Houston, of him throwing the complete game shutout and dedicating it to Tony Beasley. But the Rangers need that. They need some good old-fashioned hatred. That's what makes baseball amazing. I mean, as annoying as it is to see Red Sox, Yankees on Sunday Night Baseball literally every freaking time that it's played, and everyone would just sit there and wax poetic about, oh my god, this is so great, even when one of the teams is mediocre or one of the teams is just bad and it's a beating. It's like, wow, this rivalry is so great. But there's some earned bad blood there. There was the 2004 series, the decades and decades and decades of history of them hating each other, and not only those teams, but the cities as well hating each other. The newly forming, if the Padres could get off their butts and finally beat the Dodgers a couple of times, Padres versus Dodgers, there's geographical closeness. There's players who have played for both sides, one side that hates the other one that thinks they're above the other one. It's what makes baseball amazing. But the Rangers don't really have that. 2015 and 16 was fantastic, but the Silverbird series has mostly been a joke because the Rangers have either been trash or the Astros have been in the middle of their tanking streak, and it's just not been close. I want this rivalry to mean something, and it unfortunately seems like the Astros are going to keep being good for a long, long time, which is really frustrating. But if the Rangers ever get off their butts and finally get back into being playoff contenders, then maybe this rivalry will mean something again. Again. Because it did mean something in 15 and 16. And those divisional wins, while the Rangers did get kind of blown out of the water by the Jays in both of those playoff series, winning that divisional title matters. People who say it's all about a championship or nothing are really robbing themselves of the joy. But those moments matter. They stick with you. Just sticking it to the Astros in both of those years, even on teams where I don't think that Rangers team should have won 95 games. I don't think they should have won the division the year before, but they freaking did. They did it. And so they made it to the playoffs and kept the Astros out of it in one of those years. That was a great moment, and that is a moment that you will cherish and remember for a long, long time. Granted, the Astros have kind of had the last laugh, and a lot of laughs recently because most of their games have been absolute laughers, but that is something that I desperately want for this Rangers team, to have a rivalry with the Astros. There is hate there. There's a lot of hate there because there's a lot of annoying Astros fans, and also one or two really nice ones. Not very many of them, but there are one or two. But I also want them to lose and feel the pain that I have felt when my Rangers get their butts beat by those darn stupid Houston Astros. That's going to do it for today's episode. I'll be back tomorrow with another show. Maybe we'll get to talk about what's happening in this bullpen game for the Rangers against Seattle, but I'll definitely be talking a lot about a great Rangers Hall of Famer, Ian freaking Kinsler. That's going to do it for today's episode, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.